If the mood strikes you and you feel like shaking your hips a little bit, clapping your hands, stamping your feet, we'd love for you to join us.
Now I can see there's something of me in you. You grew up feeling you had everything to prove, too young to know you hadn't a clue, and there's more to life than just when on losing. Everyone will tell you what they think you should know, but try to figure out this life on your own. Sometimes you get lost to find your way home, to know you're never alone. No, you gotta be real if you ever gonna free your heart. Blow a kiss to the past, make a fresh start, and oh, you gotta be real if you ever gonna find your peace. Slow down, gotta take time to breathe. Yeah, you got to be real. And when you dig down deep, you find the riches in the dirt. You never grow until your fears are unearthed. We're lost within a never-ending search until we fill our voids from all of our hurts. So listen to your voice and the words that you say. There's much to learn from the roles we all play. Perfection's just a dueling game, a perfect cover, asking life's pain. No, you gotta be real if you ever gonna free your heart. Step out of the dark and into the stars. No, you gotta be real if you ever gonna find your peace. Live your own truth and know you're free. You got to be real. You gotta be real if you're ever gonna free your heart. Be yourself, be your best work of art. Oh, you gotta be real if you're ever gonna find your peace. Build your dreams to be your legacy. You got to be real. Oh, you got to be real.
Good morning, beloveds. It's so great to be here. I had written down auspicious 3 days ago, and it's already been used so many times, but it is good to be here on this auspicious day, and also to be back in this community at this auspicious time of change and growth and moving forward into a greater yet to be, which we're doing every second, but sometimes it's more obvious. Normally, right at the beginning of the talk, when she's not here, I do my little, how grateful I am to Kathy Ann. And, oh, look, she's not here. There she is. And I still am, but I'm going to get to talk at length about that later this afternoon. So I'll just say I am so grateful that I was asked, and I was actually a sub. So I knew about 10 days ago, 9 days ago for sure, that I was going to speak. So it's been a little interesting. I love our fall series on thriving. When that word dropped in, it was so perennially wonderful. And both as a congregant, I loved knowing that I could count on every year really focusing newly on how to truly have a life I desire, how to truly thrive, not just survive. And then as a minister, I looked with kind of different eyes to see just the genius of really focusing on what are the great tools of this teaching, of this community, and of Reverend Kathy Ann herself that really support us in that thriving life at a time when we're saying, do I want to be committed to this community? Hell yeah. Who can join me in the hell yeah? This is church. We say hell yeah. So it's brilliant and it's wonderful and it's an honor to step into the middle of it and a little bit of like, oh, well, if I were at my church, I would be doing this and this and this. So how to find something. And so I was thinking about it in the short amount of time that I had and thought about, we love yes, and certainly this teaching is a lot about greater yeses than maybe we had growing up. Greater saying yes to life. In fact, Shonda Rhimes, the great, all the women nod, men are like, who? She wrote, I think, The Year of Yes, about a year of her saying yes to everything. And for her, totally appropriate because her life had been a series of, no, I can't do that, and no, I don't have time, and really realizing that was not giving her the life she wanted. So we love that power of yes. We know that power of yes. But there's also power in saying no. Now, I'm not taking a cue from Nancy. Yes, we know, just say no to drugs. Okay. Except now we kind of can because there's some legal thing, but again, other talk. So I'm not talking about that kind of talk to the hand, just say no. I'm talking about actually what turned out to be kind of daily no's in life. Now first, what I don't mean is saying no as we used to, as Shonda Rhimes used to, thinking, I can't have that. So I'm going to say no, I'm not going to want it, I'm not going to think about it because I can't have it, I don't deserve it. Not talking about that kind of no. Certainly not talking about I don't deserve to have that kind of good in my life. And I'm really not talking about when we say, well, I got my health, I got a good relationship, I shouldn't be greedy. I shouldn't want abundance too, shouldn't want something else. I call that the pie theory of good. And there isn't a pie that you only get certain pieces of. As Reverend Abigail said the other day, you can have your good in all those areas. You can, you deserved, it's fine. So I'm not talking about those sorts of no's. There's a couple of kinds of no's that I'm talking about. One is actually important, but rather easy to dispose of, so we can get to some of the other things. And those are kind of, along with the can't have, kind of the flip side of those. When we are tempted to say yes to something because it seems good, but it isn't really the greater good that our heart is longing for. I'm talking about settling or resigning ourselves. Maybe it's to a relationship that you know doesn't really feed you and doesn't allow you to feed and be fed, so to speak. Or work that really doesn't allow you to give your gifts and be satisfied and fulfilled. Or when you've started doing your prayer work, and so an opportunity comes up and you don't really like it, but you're like, oh, I better grab it, because this is maybe what Spirit's delivered to me. All of those yeses are really also operating out of scarcity. It's this is as good as I get to have it, the goal, a mental equivalent thing. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's why you need to take Beyond Limits in classes, so you can learn about upping your mental equivalent. So those are the kind of places where we need to check in and say, no, maybe I should say no to what might seem to be an opportunity, because it's not really on the path of my greater good. It's sending a message to the universe, yeah, I'll settle for this. And you know what? One of the things that touches me most as I read wisdom teaching is God's idea of good for us is so much greater than ours. So much greater. So don't settle for the peanuts. Don't say yes to the peanuts, thinking that's the only way to get to the cashews. Sorry, peanuts. Sorry, peanuts. For you, macadamia. For me, cashews. There we go. The other no's that are really where I'm going to focus are day-to-day decisions that can seem some of them are mundane, some of them are bigger, but they're the ones that we wrestle internally with. And I will give you examples. Like saying no to that piece of pie. I'm the only person for whom this is a struggle. Maybe it's for me, garlic bread, brownies, chocolate, yeah. For some of us, it's that no to the outfit that really seems to be calling our name, or the new gadget or tool that's calling our name. Maybe it's saying no to some just kind of yucky gossip that's landing our way. What? Saying no to that. And sometimes it's maybe saying no to an old friendship where somebody you've known them since grade school, but every time they come into your life, you're talking about stuff that pulls you both down. Or a primary relationship. Somebody comes into your life, you say, it didn't work. We didn't see the best in each other, but those kinds of things. I had some friends, Tammy and Lyle. You'll never guess that Tammy's from Texas. She's a Tammy boy. But they are old family friends, and they had just moved up to just south of West Seattle. Burien. It's okay. I'm getting to know Burien. It's pretty cool. So they had moved up not too far from us, and we have just moved to West Seattle. So I was going to have them over, go over to their house because they've got a beautiful view, and have them over to our house because we've got a beautiful view. And so I had invited them over for last night, and then when I found out about the talk, I was wrestling. I was like, well, I can do it, and I finally said no. So that was a little bit of a wrestling I did. And then there's the daily opportunities to say no to blaming someone, or being judgmental, or acting out, or I'll show them. Those kinds of daily things. Now, if I said, just say no to all those things that don't help us, it's kind of like what I think of sometimes as old Christian teachings as you don't do that because a good person doesn't do that. A godly person doesn't do that. And we need to have discipline, which is an important word. And in fact, the disciples, I know that Reverend Kathy Ann talks about discipline and that being the same root as disciples. It's an important and beautiful word. But some of us, well, I'll just say one year when doing the themes for the year, picking your personal theme, I picked discipline. God, that was a bad year. My little rebel was out. And we don't see it because usually I'm very well behaved. I might be funny, but I'm a good girl. And boy, which kind of tends to happen when we say no's for that reason. When all we can think of is, well, self-denial is healthy to the soul. Or we're trying to be good, as I said, or heaven forfend, we're trying to somehow earn God or the universe's approval by saying no to these things. Doesn't work very well. Does that kind of motivator for your no's help you? Maybe a little bit. Or once, and then you go through about 5 of those in a day, and you're done. Then you gotta make up for it by saying yes to it all the next day. The way these kinds of no's, that are in and of themselves little no's, but really kind of significant when they add up in a life, is they must, to really work, to have us able to say them, is when we really know what we're up to. And we have to be up to something more than just being good or being disciplined. That our no's, to be powerful, have to be in service to a larger yes. To a larger yes that we identify. And different no's may be in service to different yeses. The yeses, having an idea of my larger yes, gives me a lot of clarity. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm not going to have that second piece of pie. That's right. Oh yeah. Gives us a vision of the future rather than just the present moment when that thing can seem so tempting. And it lifts us out of the motivation of should. I remember when I first got in this teaching, one of the favorite things was, don't shit on me and I won't shit on you. But sometimes the word works. But for ourselves, when it's just the should, then that becomes that rotating conversation of what I need to do to be better because really I'm not okay the way I am and blah, 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 blah. Anybody have that negative conversation that goes on? Yeah. So those sorts of motivations outside of the larger, if we don't know our larger yes, those motivations are not helpful. And that larger yes lifts us right out of that should into our path of thriving, our path of moving forward in joy, our path of prosperity. Now you can test a little bit, and you've heard this test done in other ways. You can test if that larger yes is really a large yes for you, instead of just a thinly disguised should. You know about the thinly disguised, well, no, it's a should, it's my goal. How does it make you feel when you close your eyes and look at that larger yes? Do you feel more expanded? Do you feel more free? If you do, that's your yes, one of your yeses. If you don't, it's probably a thinly disguised should or somebody else's yes that you picked up because it was a good idea. So we know that. We like those yeses, and it's really important to explore them. Like everything else in this teaching, in this be so glad you're not sitting next to me as I work on my talks, because my mind always seems like it's going sort of in 3 dimensions, even though I am no scientist at all. But I can see my mind goes this way, and I look at a thing and I go, ooh, but yeah, I could go over here with this, and I could go over here with this, and oh, really? It's exhausting. So that's why I go at my talk several times, to kind of clarify it down for you, because I love you. I don't want to waste your time. But I do notice that there are always levels to things, and our larger yeses, I think, can be wonderful in and of themselves. So when I say level, I'm not saying this is really a nobler one. Although some of them I might think are, but I think having larger yeses is such a great idea that you get to decide, and certain things may have different levels of yes. The kind of simplest level of a larger yes is something that you want to inform, a goal, an outcome. So you can say no to that piece of pie because you want to lose some weight. I know no one in this room has ever had that experience. We know that in our head, but we sort of forget about it in the minute of looking at it. Now that Thanksgiving is not that far away. Well, Halloween's even closer. I'm going to be on a plane that day. Yay, I'm going to be away from candy. But if we have that larger yes clearly before us, it can help. But deeper than just a goal or an outcome, and this will be familiar to some of those of you who have studied spiritual mind treatment and the questions we ask before we do treatment, so we know what the treatment's for, is, well, what do I really want to experience here? What do I really want to experience? What is that experience that my larger yes is? Maybe it's to experience more health. Maybe in the pie example, it's really beauty. Maybe that you have a call, and this is whether you're male or female. This has nothing to do with female. Just a call to express beauty, and that's a piece of it for you. In the relationship, saying no to that relationship that really isn't the love and the joy and maybe the empowerment or growing together, as Kathy Ann talked about, being in community. Maybe it doesn't have that experience, so you're saying no because your larger yes is for relationships in which you build each other up. The deepest level, I think, of creating larger yeses has to do with identification. Who do you want to be? What do you want to identify yourself with? And what's interesting is as you move through those levels of larger yes, the no's that you are making in service to that larger yes become so much simpler to dissolve, so much simpler to say. If I don't know what I'm about, then it's hard to keep on purpose. I mean, this is really sort of the essence of this talk. You knew that, but this is why we come up here. This is what that illusion of being alive is, that we come up, Kathy Ann comes up, Reverend Abigail comes up, we come up and pretend to tell you something, you pretend you don't know it till that day, and then we all go home happy, right? But this is why it looks like there's more than one of us. I love it. But that idea of who do I want to be? And I got really reminded of it when Reverend Kathy Ann reiterated what this community is about. I want to be a force for good. I want to be transparent to God in every moment. I want to be a place of peace. I want to be vibrant wholeness, because that is the divine expressing as me. When you have that deep yes, those things, those no's no longer become wrestling matches. Because those higher ideas, oh yeah, this reminds me of those angels, the Jacob and wrestling with angels, the higher ideas that some of you have heard talk about. So it can look like this. One level, you say no to the purchase of that outfit that's been calling your name, or that tool that's been calling your name, or that new TV that's not only smart but it's also dumb. So it doesn't pick up the information about you that you don't want, but does all the other things you want. Who knows? They could create one someday. That you can say no to that because you actually have this fabulous trip that you're planning. Really mundane example, but when you keep that trip, you need to walk around with that brochure in your pocket. I could tell you different times that I've gone and fallen to that little yes, and then went, oops, this is going to make this trip, saving for this trip, trickier and harder. So we say no to the smaller expense because there's something bigger that really calls our heart more. As I said, to relationships, we say no to something that isn't that experience of love and joy and whatever else is your yes about what you want to experience in relationship or at work. When I finally made my no to Lyle and Tammy, first it was like, well, I can do it all and have several glasses of wine and come up and look okay. And then I was like, well, it's really about more than just looking good. That's always lurking. I'm being real. It's always lurking. But that when I come up to speak, it's a gift I've been given. It's an honor to do this. But I want to be clear enough to be an expression of the divine. That thing where somebody will come up and say, oh man, when you said this, it was so great. And I go, what? I said that? Because, God takes everything and redoes it for you all. Thank you. But that was really my larger yes. It's about more than not making a fool of myself on stage, but really being able to be a gift, being able to express what wants to be expressed this day. And then it became so much easier to not think about, but it was going to be so fun, and we're going to start construction soon, and maybe I can't have them back over, blah, 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 blah. It's just, it wasn't a thing. Now, those behaviors, like the gossip, the blaming, the saying, well, why did they do that? Why did they do that? I don't know why they do that. Well, that's a little one. Then there's just looking at the daily news and looking at the posts on Facebook, getting pulled into that mire. That if we just have that yes of no, I want to be nice. Oh my God, that's like, if you have that as any part of a larger yes, that is like the lowest common denominator of a yes. Yeah, it's been said of us Northwesterners that we're nice, but we're not really deeper things than that. So yeah, just throw nice out. Throw nice out as a larger yes, because it ain't one. But to be a good person, still, that's not a large enough yes. But to be that place of love, that place of peace, that force for good in the world, if that's what you choose to align with by being in this community, that is a huge yes, which can stand up to almost any little wrestling match with a no that you could have. So let's practice. Okay, and I'm going to invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes. And come up with, if you can, something that you might have been struggling with, that you might be still struggling with, that is a no. And maybe how it's languaged in your brain right now is, I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't do it. And then ask yourself, is there a larger yes in this that you're going toward? Is there a larger yes? It could be a bigger goal you have for yourself, that this is just a distraction from, or it's a too small stopping place. Is it an experience that you want to have in your life of greater love, of greater freedom, of greater wholeness and health? Is it an experience that is the larger yes? And if you can, see if there's that even larger yes that can call you. Who is it that you want to be? Who is it that God created you to be? And you actually know that in your soul. And if you don't, then stick around this community. It's just something that you haven't paid attention to. So what do you want to identify yourself with? That majesty of the divine, that is the truth of who you are? Or that no, what you're trying to say no to? And so as you step into that larger yes, which is actually the truth about who you are and who you want to be, doesn't that no seem like it can just drift away? It is so easy to say. Anything that was tempting about it pales before the truth that is your larger yes, the singing of your soul where it meets that larger yes. And if it is, let's anchor this in prayer. As I know that any of our larger yeses are God beckoning us forward. No, that's right. Those are just the voices of the past. Beckoning, and the yes is the song of our soul, is God within, moving us forward. So as we go through life, we now more easily identify and step into those larger yeses. Those larger yeses that assist us in creating personal heavens on earth and creating a world that works for everyone, that is heaven on earth. And I know that there is nothing in the universe that stops this. This is God beckoning us. And so we open to this yes. We open to each of our yeses. We open to each other's larger yeses. We say yes. We say thank you. We walk forward more easily, more joyfully. And we become the world we want to see. I give thanks for this. I let it be. And I say, and so it is.